Hey, movie fans. So I watched Punisher: The Last Kill Marvel special. I am going to count this as a movie. That's just personally me. I can understand why some people wouldn't count these as movies, why some people would. Just for me personally, I do think of it as a movie. And I loved the two previous ones. I loved Werewolf by Night and the Guardians Galaxy Holiday special. So I was excited going into watching this. And also, John Botholt is my favorite Punisher personally. Like I think he's been fantastic. I loved him in the Punisher show. I loved him in Daredevil. To me, I feel like he gets the character. You can tell how much passion he has for the character. And when it comes to my thoughts on this mini movie, Punisher: The Last Kill, is that I enjoyed it. I don't think it's great though. There still hasn't been a great Punisher movie. I didn't like any of the previous Punisher movies when it comes to the Dolph Lundgren one. I think it was from the 80s and one 90s. I can't remember which era. And then Thomas Jane one I didn't like. The Wade Stevens one I didn't like. I would say this is the best Punisher movie if you wanna count this as a movie. Still not great though. The positives with this movie is that the second half of this, I think the acting is great. There's one shot that when he falls, he's like falling off a building onto something, and that one shot that everybody's ridiculed online, that did look bad. That one shot in this movie. The acting though, I think, is great in this. Like it definitely goes for the all weighted. So I'm happy about that when it comes because in my opinion, Punisher he's an all weighted character. So I think the acting is brutal, great in this. And I would say this is one of the I would say this is maybe the darkest we've seen John Bernthal as a character when it comes to him playing Punisher. The main thing that makes this an enjoyable movie for me besides Aston, the main thing is his performance is just great in this. He always does a great job playing this character. Like it never feels like he's phoning in. You can tell he has passion for this character, Punisher. And I think he just delivers a great emotional performance in this movie. Like when you see him screaming, when even a scene at the graveyard when he sees his daughter, I really felt that for his character. Like you do feel his pain when it comes to him losing his family to Punisher. And I think he just brings so much emotional and heart and depth to this character that even though I don't think this movie's great, I think his performance is what makes it enjoyable for me because you really just feel the pain for his character. So to me, his performance is the main thing why I enjoyed this movie. And it was also great to see his friend from the Punisher show, which I'm forgetting what the character's name was, but his soldier buddy was Curtis. It was great to see that character, even though it was only in he was only Maz and his friend Curtis. It's just great to see that character though, because we haven't seen that character since the end of season 2 of Punisher. So it was nice to see that character again. And I really like the scene with him and Karen because they obviously hinted, that you can definitely feel like they have a connection, and I think they have this fantastic chemistry, the two actors. So I wouldn't mind seeing those two kids get together. Like I love her with Daredevil. I think she has great chemistry with Charlie Cox too, and I love the relationship between her and Daredevil, Daredevil. But I also love the relationship between her and Punisher. I think that's really interesting too. So it was. I really like that. I really like that scene. I think it's a great emotional scene between him and Karen when he's a Madison home. When it comes to the negatives with this, and I have two negatives with this, why I don't think this is great, and why I didn't love this like I did the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special and the Rail by Night one. One is this is the first Marvel special with a one time affected it for me because I felt like when this was over, I was like, really, that's it? Because the first half is I would say slow, and the second half is more action. I feel like this needed to be an hour. I feel like you could have added. This seems like 44 minutes. I feel like you could have added like 15 or 20 minutes onto this, and I feel like that would help the story more. And I think it wouldn't have felt so like abrupt when it ends. Because I just feel like when it ended, I was like, wait, that's it? It's over? I feel like you could have like gotten more out of the story if you made it an hour at least. So the one time this is the first time the one time for these Marvel specials really affected affected the movie for me. I was like, this felt too short. Was I didn't feel that with the holiday special, Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, or the Way Up by Night. I feel like when I watched those, even though the holiday special is only like 39 minutes and the Way Up by Night one I think is in the 40-minute range, those didn't feel too short for me. It felt like at the end I was like, yeah, they told a complete story, and I felt like it was a perfect one time for those Marvel specials. With this one, it just felt like it felt too short. It felt like when it ended, I was just like, wow, that's it. So the one time for this movie is one of the big issues I have with it. And then the biggest problem with this for me, I have one small nitpick actually. This is a nitpick. This isn't really a big negative. A nitpick for me with this special is that we only see him in a Punisher costume for like two scenes, in two different costumes. You have him in one scene where he's like going down the street, and then you see him look over, and you see him imagine himself in the black jacket. And then the final scene at the end of this movie, you see him in a different Punisher costume. And I was disappointed we don't see him in the Punisher costume all that much in the special. You only see him in the Punisher costume for like two scenes and two different ones, and I love both of those costumes. I hope in the future that we actually see him in a Punisher costume. So again, this is more of a nitpick. This is something where I'm like, it doesn't really affect the story or the issues I have with the movie when it comes to like affecting the story with character stuff. It's just one of those nitpicks I had where I was like, as a big Punisher fan, I do hope in the future we actually see him in a Punisher costume more than we did in this. The big negative with this though with this movie for me is that it just feels like we're retreading familiar ground. Like I feel like we already went over this stuff. It kind of feels like this movie's just it's just like a refresher of his origin for people who didn't watch the show, Punisher show, and it just felt like that to me. It felt like we were just kind of like derivative, and we are just like going over stuff we already covered, plot points we already covered in the Punisher show. Like even though most of the stuff I'm like we've seen him quit being Punisher before, we've seen him going back to being Punisher. So it just felt derivative. Like it felt like we were repeating points we already covered in the Punisher show, mostly with his character. So that's kind of the big, like the two big problems for me is just the one time and the fact that it just felt like we felt like we were just repeating plot points mostly, and like stuff we already kind of went over, stuff we already went over with his character in the Punisher show. So it's like, okay, I am like after this, I'm just kind of tired of him like quit being Punisher and him being Punisher again. I feel like like I hope like going forward he's just Punisher all the time now because I just feel like we covered all this stuff already in a Punisher show when it comes to him quitting to be Punisher and emotional stuff with his family. I felt like okay, we like his performance sells it. At the same time, though, I just feel like we covered these points in the Punisher show with his character already, so it just felt very derivative and felt like we were just repeating points here. So those are the two big negatives with this for me. Is that why I want to call it great? Is that it just feels derivative. It feels like we're covering like emotional story points with his character that we already did in the Punisher show, and this is the first time where the length felt too short. This needed to be an hour, in my opinion. And they like set up a villain in a wheelchair here with from what I heard, she's like a famous Punisher villain in the comics, and a like you don't see like she gets away, and I guess she's like a character that's gonna be like set up for the future. I know some people said that the end of the short is supposed to lead into like Spider Man. I'll be honest, I don't think this really does much to set up Spider Man. That's probably not negative with this. It just I like the only thing I guess it does set up is the idea at the end that he decides not to kill the woman in a wheelchair that sent the her men after him to kill him decides to save this family. So I guess the idea at the end of this is that he's like, and he kills this one guy who kills this homeless guy's dog. So I guess at the end of this movie that sets up that he's going to be more of a heroic Punisher where he's not just going out for vengeance. Which that I think that's an interesting like twist in the setup for his character where when he's killing bad guys, it's not really about revenge in his family anymore. It's about actually kind of being, I guess, a more heroic version of the Punisher was still all rated. And I think that could be an interesting setup. I just don't think this movie does much when it comes to setting up Spider-Man. And like I said, I just feel like it felt very derivative and just repeating points we've already covered mostly with his character. And the length, it just felt too short. So that's my thoughts on Punisher the Last Kill. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I didn't love it though. I still don't think there's been a great Punisher movie yet. And I hope what I hope what this does is I hope this leads to them doing a full length feature film of him as Punisher, where he's Punisher all the time. Because I would love to see him actually get a Punisher movie where it's an hour or something, a full length feature Punisher movie, not a mini movie. And I think we need to just get away from his origin after this. Like, I feel like hope the idea with the fact of setting up that he's going after bad guys now for to like going to kill bad guys when it comes to him being more of a heroic, like a heroic hero of him killing bad guys, not just for vengeance. I hope this means that this leads to a Punisher movie where he's just like Punisher all the time, and you can still have him motivated, obviously. So for me, it was an enjoyable special movie, whatever you want to call it. At the same time, I don't think it was great. It definitely doesn't reach the level of the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special or the Werewolf by Night one. I wouldn't be against them doing more Marvel specials after this, though. I just, this is just the one so far where I felt like, yeah, this needed to be longer, personally. So that's my thoughts on Punisher: The Last Kill. Until next time, movie fans.